Let peace, stress free, let it be. God got a bigger plan for you and me. Let peace, stress free, let it be. God got a bigger plan for you and me. Let peace, stress free, let it be. God got a bigger plan for you and me.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of High Conscious Conversations with Rev Skip. And of course, I am Rev Skip, and it's my honor and privilege to invite you into this sacred space. Whether you are viewing it right here live on Facebook Live, you're coming in and out, it doesn't matter, or if you're going to catch us on a podcast next year, which is only a couple of weeks away, we'll be launching the podcast. Wherever you're listening to it, I welcome you, knowing that right here and right now, the divine spirit of God is right where you are. And I'm blessing you, and I am grateful, and it's my honor to be of service. And welcome, happy holidays, and we are sending this out right before Christmas, the Christ Mass. And we are just ending our Festival of Lights, which is Hanukkah, and we're moving into Kwanzaa, and I'm very excited about this season. We're going to start off this show, as we do always, with what I love to call the Quotable Ponder. And it's simply just a ponder, a quote that I'm asking you to think about this week as we're moving through our day. And our Quotable Ponder this week, it is the kingdom of heaven is within you, which is one of John Lennon's lyrics, a part of his poetry. But I want to bring light to who really talked about the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's our master teacher, Jesus the Christ. And in the spirit of understanding why we are celebrating what we're celebrating this week, it is the birth of the Christ consciousness. And for me, Christ consciousness is understanding that God is right where I am. I am one as spirit, and I'm showing up as the light, but not only me, but you as well. And this is the mass explosion and birth. We're celebrating the birth of the Christ consciousness upon our human existence. And I want to say this, that I love John Lennon. I love his music, but I also love, the master teacher of Jesus the Christ. And I read a lot about this beautiful man that talked about this, and everything that I have retaught myself about Jesus the Christ is completely different than when I was taught as a young man or as a young child. But I love this journey of unfolding and seeing new insights about the Christ consciousness. And I'm just really excited about this season. We are moving into Kwanzaa right after Christmas in a couple of days. And I want to invite you to a really incredible experience that I'm doing on Inside Timer on Christmas morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're an Inside Timer member and part of the community, great, be there. If you don't, it's free. You can join Inside Timer online, 9 a.m. We're going to do a Christmas Day guided meditation and sound bath. And we're also going to talk about the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. So we're going to be celebrating that. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on, but I am absolutely very, very, very excited to bring in our next guest. My next guest on this podcast is one of my brothers, one of my friends I've known for a long time. We grew up at Agape. I want to say we had a spiritual growing up together at Agape, and I'm really grateful to bring in Rev Jason Mitchell. That middle name always gets me. It's Davon. It should be Davon. I think it is, but we'll talk about that when he jumps in. He is a recent graduate of the inaugural class of the Michael B. Beckwith School of Ministry 2020. We graduated together. He's a staff member of Agape International Spiritual Center. He supports all of us practitioners and ministers because we are practitioners first, and then we become ministers. So he supports all of us when we're going through whatever it is that we're going through. We get the support from Rev Jason. He's also, for the last 8 years, has been the facilitator and the lead facilitators. I get to jump into the hot seat every once in a while of our daily prayer call, which is such a powerful spiritual experience. And if you don't know about it, we're going to let you know exactly what's going on with our daily prayer call. So right now, let's put our hands together and give a little pat in the heart to welcome in Rev Jason Mitchell. Hey, how are you, brother?
Man, I'm so good, brother. How are you?
I'm good. Say that middle name for me again.
Davion.
Davion, because I want to call you Devon. I want to call you everything that is not your name.
Give me all them black names, brother. Give me all them black names. Davon,
You know what I'm talking about. You know how we do.
I'm here
You know
for
how we
all
do.
of them. Yes, absolutely.
How you living, man? How you living?
Man, breath by breath, if I'm able. I'm so grateful for the times that we are living in. I'm so grateful for so many things. I'm getting ready for things, doing things, living things, being the thing, I think might be the best way to end that answer.
Yeah. That's powerful because not everyone has that same focus that you have. And I was just saying this before we got on. Those of us who's been doing the work throughout this COVID experience, we've been showing up a lot. I know you've been showing up a lot too, and every day doing our daily prayer call. And some days I need to jump on our daily prayer call before I do my thing on Insight Timer. I'm there getting a little bit of you prayed up, and then I jump over to the next experience. I just want to thank you for being a support system for all of us, especially those who are doing the light workers. We need ministers to support ministers. So I'm grateful for you, brother.
Hey man, I'm honored to do it. And what's amusing to me is for you to say that about me and still for me to watch the ego try to be in judgment of myself. For me to hear that from you, to embrace that from you, but also to watch how I have to wrestle against the limited idea that I haven't done enough, or that I'm not doing enough, or that whatever stuff was trying to come up, but to really be with you and to receive that from you. So thank you for honoring me in that way.
Well, brother, I just really honor what you're doing. I know you from just our deep experience of Agape International Spiritual Center. One of the reasons why I'm doing this show, I want people to understand this spiritual education we received from places, this space that you don't see this anywhere else in the world. This is a unique expression of the divine. And I'm so grateful because we landed Agape right about the same time. And we got a chance to do a lot of things together, singing in the choir, going through classes, becoming ministers. So I know you, man, and you know me, but I want you to tell our audience, who are you, my brother? Who are you? Something that we don't see on your resume, on your bio.
As I accepted the mantle of ministry, one of the aspects that I accepted is an extension of my grandfather. So when we had our graduation and we sat there in our brother Reverend Carlton's backyard and we were embracing the call to ministry, one of the things that I recognized was an evolutionary embrace of the call to ministry that my grandfather, Bishop Joseph Wright, had accepted. So I'm a child. I'm not exactly a PK. My parents were not in ministry, but my grandfather was in ministry. My uncles, multiple uncles, were in ministry. So I come from a legacy of people who recognize the living presence. We've maybe articulated it differently then, and I may have expanded on what I understand from the gift that they gave to me. But that's what I am. I'm a teacher at heart. I really love to help and support other people in awakening. I love that idea of a teacher as being one who points the way, but doesn't tell everybody all the details, doesn't tell you it has to be that way. That's one of the amazing gifts that this community, that the teachings of New Thought, Ageless Wisdom have really gifted me, which is you can point towards the thing, but you can't tell someone exactly what it is and expect them to have a realization of it. You point someone in the direction of the thing, they have the calling towards the thing, and they have accepted the calling, and then they have their realization from it. And it may be different from mine. And one of the big things for me, for my clients, for my students, for my co-creators, co-teachers, co-facilitators like you, is that we understand and embrace of the thing doesn't deny my experience, and it doesn't deny the other person's experience. So that's a little bit more.
I love this, that people don't know that we actually have a lot in common because of our backgrounds. And I too have multiple cousins and uncles and grandfather minister, and my brother is a music minister. We grew up in the church, going to church like almost like every Sunday. Sunday, we were in church maybe 3 times on the Sunday. Wednesday, watch night meetings, you know what I'm talking about. And one of the things we got a chance to experience with Bishop Pearson, and we got to talk about the bridging of the Pentecostal and this enthusiasm of the heart and how new thought, and it's a perfect bridge that's happening. Had a great talk with David Alexander out in Atlanta. We talked about this yesterday about this is a beautiful marriage because it comes from that space of spirit. We talk about the heart. Can you speak a little bit more about that in your experience of the bridging of Pentecostal and metaphysics?
You know, the big thing for me was it felt like as I got older that the Pentecostal charismatic church had gotten so much into the energy and the enthusiasm, and there was a whole other branch in theology that was more focused on the intellectualism. And then I felt like I was raised in an era of people like Bishop Noel Jones. I was raised in an era of people like Bishop T.D. Jakes, where they were teaching a deeper intellectual and enthusiastic theology. And then I was birthed into an era where people like Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, Reverend Deborah Johnson, and the like were taking the New Thought Ageless Wisdom, which would be called New Thought Ageless Wisdom, and they were bridging the gap into the theology that embraced the Holy Spirit, that embraced Jesus, the master teacher, that embraced Eastern philosophies, that embraced all of these things. And it created just like the most magnificent, gorgeous bridge of Eastern philosophies, of embracing how Islam and Buddhism and Taoism and Christianity and the falling of Pentecost raining down and the Holy Spirit all being one thing, and never ever feeling like anybody was separate, and never feeling like anybody was different because they didn't speak in tongues, or didn't think that anybody was different because they moved a little different, but being able to admire how spirit was flowing through that woman that was over there on the side of the building that couldn't stop dancing, and the Holy Spirit was also flowing through that man who sat and was stoic. But if you had a conversation with him about what his experience of the service was, he could give you the depth of the beauty of his consciousness. And to have all of that, I really believe has animated me, has activated me, and given me access, true access to something that I had not experienced before. And I believe that that's what's continuing to be birthed in our world.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'm very clear of and seeing evidence in your life and in my own life is where I started as a young boy, understanding what God is and who God is to me is so much different than where I started from. And I like to call that the spiritual awakening, that journey, because I believe the journey is forever unfolding. Throughout this COVID experience, have you seen growth within yourself of an understanding of who and what God is and the spiritual journey that's taking place in this sacred reset? I'm calling it the sacred reset for a reason, because that's what I truly believe.
You know, one of the greatest realizations that I am having personally, actively, is accepting what is, and also that it is not eternal. So accepting a loving relationship, and also in accepting that loving relationship, there is something about that we all must recognize. We must recognize that that person will not live forever, and we have absolutely no control over it. So when I look at my friends whose parents have transitioned, but they were devoted to God, they were devoted to the presence, and somehow we have a belief that something shouldn't happen to them because they love God so much. That people who are devoted to God, who love God, who are committed, who are kind and generous, should not contract a physical malady like COVID. You know, we have all of these belief systems that were not given to us. They're sort of the shadow of our faith, that we don't examine the fact that we want to deny what is. That doesn't mean that we don't pray in situations, that we don't hold for a high consciousness around a situation so that something can be revealed beyond a diagnosis, or beyond what the bank account says, or beyond what conditions say. However, when I agree to be in a relationship, when a parent agrees to have a child, it's very hard to reconcile an idea that part of accepting that something is also accepting that I have no control over it and I may have to let it go.
Yeah. With one of the very first things that happened, Reverend Jason, when I found that my brother a few weeks ago, the day after Thanksgiving, came down with COVID, my mindset went to, well, my brother's a mortician. He is the music minister of this church. And there I'm going, God, what's up with this? And I had to catch myself and going, yes, to that. Be those who believe will go through the lessons of the ebb and flow of life. And
Mm-hmm.
in that ebb and flow of life, I do know that we all got around and we just prayed. So my brother's experience of COVID brought my family into a spirit of prayer. And everyone around me, first thing we did, we had that little, oh my goodness, and we had, y'all, let's pray. Let's go back to spirit. I remember that Reverend Deborah Johnson, remember Deborah Johnson said this, that everything will bring us back to the realization of our oneness with God. Every experience. And in that moment, it was like, yeah, I get it. It brought us back to the oneness of God.
Absolutely. And see, so often there's a wonderful story that Reverend Michael uses as an illustration from a book. I can't remember the name of it. It's literally on my shelf right there. And he talks about a mother who has a child that has developmental disability and dies in a very tragic way. And, there's just a wrestling with, why does this happen? Why do all this? Like, there's no list of things in creation that we don't have a question of why they happen. And then when we look at the annals of history, when we are actually given time to see the effect of the situations and circumstances, so many things are happening in a positive way.
Yeah.
In the tragedy of, in America, the 300,000 people that have made their transition, that has been attributed to COVID. So many relationships have been shifted and changed and transformed. So many people are being activated in a way. We're recognizing the flaws in our education system. We're recognizing the flaws in our government and how it functions. We're recognizing so many things in our own lives, if we will focus more on what is being revealed.
Yes.
If we focus more on what's actually happening and not get a fatalistic view. I don't have a fatalistic view of life just because I say, I recognize that this is going to end. Either one of us is going to transition, or we're both going to transition, or but the reality is we suffer so much by what we refuse to examine, what we refuse to bring our light, lit, illuminated, loving consciousness to, because then those things can knock us out of our faith, knock us off of our path. And of course we can recover. But if we will do the work and examine and pull back the covers, we'll have a completely different experience.
One of the things that we are all learning, or we have the opportunity to learn if we choose to, is the fact that everything has a divine reason and a divine purpose. So I look at what we're going through and what we recently have seen. I've spoken about this on the show before, seeing George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, Michael Green, all these people that have come forth to give their life for us to wake up about what's going on, this inequality in life because of the color of skin we are and who we are. I'm not saying that I am so grateful that this happened because this is an atrocity. But then I can take this and ask, what am I to learn from this? And who am I because of this? And this, I've seen the rise up of a community that was already there, a social activism community. Black Lives Matter rose up and saying, we're going to be heard this time, and we're going to continue to be heard. So I'm seeing what Reverend Michael would call the COVID bonus. That we got a chance to be aware of this. We also got a chance. I got a chance to redesign who I am as Rev Skip. I'm doing things I never knew that I would want to do. This is my second podcast in COVID. Hello. I mean, how have you redesigned yourself? What's your COVID bonus for you and what you have learned? What is the biggest bonus that you have learned for your life?
The trust that I have in my practice, the trust that I have that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And as I've attributed to as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, there was just so many things that I was always doing on my own, and there was no measuring stick of it. There wasn't you're doing good or you're doing bad, or you're at a level 7 when you want to be at a level 9. There were just so many things that I've been used to measuring. If you show up 5 times, you've done what you're supposed to do. If you show up 10 times, you've done what you're supposed to do. I've had so much of that been released because people have shown me by the results that have been experienced in their lives, by the results that are coming my way, that exactly as I'm doing it is what I was called to do. Not that there isn't ways to grow, to evolve, to improve, that there's not more being called. However, the judgment that I've had on myself and how harsh I've been on myself has not served me. And so in this COVID era, so many of the things that I felt like needed to be a certain way, I'm just amazed. One of the things that I do that a lot of people don't know about is I work for a wonderful organization called the Spirit Awakening Foundation with Akuyo Graham. And in that organization, I work with 2 groups of students. One at my high school, John Muir, where I went, which are higher functioning students who've got pretty good support systems, but they still need some assistance. But I also work with the continuing education program at a facility called New Earth. And these are kids who cannot return back to their classrooms, and they're a little harder and a little edgier. And when I look at the work that me and my colleagues, the other practitioners or other creative artists have done, and to see and hear from the students how deeply impacted their lives were. These students who already were doing virtual 6 hours of school were still jumping on Zoom for another 2 hours to do creative writing, expression, to be in discussion with some other students they had never met before in real life. A couple of them were freshmen. So they stepped into a space, into an arena that allowed them to flourish in a way. And it was just being revealed to me how well what I'm doing is being received by the universe, not by any mechanisms that could be measurable by some static point in time, but by the living lives of the people who I'm connected to.
And that's very powerful because I've heard it not just from you, but from other ministers, other practitioners, that the self-judgment of, am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? And comparing ourselves, especially when we are all online now and we're seeing these numbers for these other people and we're not staying in your own lane and recognizing that you too are a beneficial presence upon this planet. If you recognize that you're a beneficial presence upon this planet. I go through it all the time. I'm on Inside Timer, where at one time before COVID, my numbers were huge. COVID came on, everyone came on to Inside Timer. I started to compare myself to these numbers, and I'm going, what's going on? Spirit just had a come to Jesus moment. We might say in the old school, come to Jesus moment. Yo, you are perfect and you are divine right where you are doing what you do. So do Rev Skip. And don't worry about anybody else. I had that moment.
Absolutely.
I was in tears, Jason. Reverend Jason, I was in tears when I recognized what was holding me back was my own perception that I wasn't enough.
We've talked many times in this teaching of New Thought, Ageless Wisdom that we're here to remove the filters.
Yes.
Right? So if I'm judging it based upon hits, that's a filter. If I'm judging it based on views, that's a filter. If I'm judging it based on even the income, that's a filter. Now, that's not to mean that I can't get good information from views, from hits, and of course, from money. Right. We can get good information from that, but that is not the absolute. When I go back into my closet, which is a place we came from before we got on here, when I go back to my meditation pillow, and I'm with the Spirit alone, am I integrated? Am I in integrity? Am I still continuing to birth that which we talk about? You and I are at the beginning of this aspect of ministry. And one of the things that we've been told is that the average life of a minister or a ministry is about 5 years. So we set the clock. 2025, we're going to have a meeting. And in 2025, we're going to talk about we're just getting started because we're not here for this temporary fix. I'm not here. I was never here to just become a practitioner at Agape.
Right.
I wasn't here just to get a license. I've been licensed for 8 years now. So what? I keep going. Even as we announce master practitioners at Agape, so many of them have been like, okay, and like I'm still doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I wasn't looking to be acknowledged in the first place. Thank you. And it's like collecting the ticket or getting your ticket punched on the train. I'm not getting off the train just because you punched my ticket, and allowing that awakening to that relationship that in the end, as it was in the beginning,
Mhm.
It's still about your relationship with the present.
Absolutely. One of the questions, I love what you're saying. One of the questions I was asked in my oral panels, becoming a minister, becoming licensed as a minister, and I was asked by one of my teachers. She asked, "So if we don't, deem you as being minister, what are you attached to them?" I'm going, no, because my work does not. It's not qualified because I have the title of minister.
Come on.
I do it from the authority of God that's within me, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, even if I call myself Rev Skip or not, because it's not about the title, it's about my relationship. So I love what you are talking about. We're talking now, we're going to go into a place where we see your purpose, and I really want you to talk about our daily prayer call and how, if y'all don't know about this and you're listening to this on the podcast, you have to go to Facebook and look up, Jason D. Mitchell, and find out about our daily prayer call. Speak to that, my brother.
I wanted to say two things about purpose, but I'm going to start with our daily prayer call. When I became a licensed practitioner in 2012, I knew there was something more for me to do. It was really clear that Agape had created, through their community, a wonderful training program, training us to show up, to practice the presence, to pray, to anchor vigil, to seek clients as spiritual counselors if we chose to. However, I knew that there was something really clear that I was called to do, and I had no idea what it was. This is before the virtual aspect of social media and technology had taken hold, and the call to pray with people on a regular basis was clear. Now, I did not in any way expect that 8 years later, I would still be holding and facilitating a field at first thing in the morning each day for people all over the world. Yesterday, there was a sister in there from South Africa. There's a sister that joins us regularly from Norway. There are people from all around the world, Denmark, from Spain, that jump into this prayer field. And it was really clear for me that I was called to do that, and it continues to be something that is very essential, especially in a time like this. But you started the conversation with purpose, which is something that I've had to wrestle with, because so much of our world makes purpose have to be something that's big, something that has a major impact, something that has a major influence. But there was a real clear awakening for me that when you're doing what you are called to do, no matter the size, no matter how much money you're making, no matter how large your audience is, you are in your purpose. Far too many people present and embrace and look for the idea of purpose based on some of these media-driven public measuring sticks. And those things, again, are the filters that we're being called to throw away. So for me, being in my purpose is being in the thing that me and Spirit have talked about and I'm called to do. Called to speak, called to teach, called to share, called to be a loving son, a loving friend, to be a supportive colleague. There are so many things that people are called to do. And one of the great things that the COVID bonus is showing us is that a UPS man or woman is in their purpose if they are doing it in a way that continues to reveal more love, more joy, more light, more beauty, more peace into the world. There's a viral video going around of a whole neighborhood that's lined the streets with dozens and dozens, maybe even hundreds of cars for people to celebrate a UPS man that has consistently shown up in their neighborhood, brought their food, brought their packages, brought the things that they need. There have been so many wonderful stories of humanity, not just during the holiday season, but throughout this time of stay-at-home orders and directives across the country, across the world, where people, even in the beginning, were coming out of their homes, showing their gratitude at 7 p.m. at night, clanging and banging their things, and showing honor and appreciation to the people. We have all of these amazing artists who cannot perform, who cannot show up and do the lighting for a play, who cannot show up and do the rigging for a performance. But all of these people are walking in their purpose. And this calling to what we are doing right now, even as everything else in the world has shut down, is revealing that we can be absolutely integrated with the present, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, no matter what the job title is, whether you are a person of faith or not. I don't need you to recognize that there is some deity, some God, some presence, some spirit, something. I don't need you to recognize that there's something greater than you. But can you say of yourself that I'm
Yes.
doing exactly what I'm meant to do? If you're a surgeon, if you're a soldier, if you're a postal worker, if you work in a mine, because you're being a father, don't leave that out. Because you're being a mother, don't leave that out. Because you're being a dutiful son or daughter who is showing up in a way that shines more love, more joy, more peace, more beauty, more of the living presence. We call it by many names, but the clear understanding is it's still beyond name, beyond title, beyond the limitation of the word.
Absolutely. Wow. You know, everyone online right now, and if you're listening to this, as we say at Agape, take a breath. Take a breath right here. Take a breath right here, Brother Michael. What I love about what you're speaking to is understanding your purpose is not what you do, it's who you are. It's how you show up. And that is just so inspiring. It really is. One of the things we get to do at the end of the show is called the yes moment. And the yes moment is an acronym I created. It's called You Expressing Spirit. And what you've already eloquently have done throughout this show already. But this is the time that I let the guests really just let spirit work through them. Whatever you want to tell our listeners and our viewers, whatever you want to say, that's you expressing spirit. So I'm going to, again, give you the mic because, brother, you are just so dynamic. I just love what you do. So this is your yes moment, Reverend Jason Mitchell.
You know, I'm going to do two things. And the first one is I'm here to affirm you. If you are watching this, if you are streaming in, if you are listening to this audio, I'm here to let you know, not only is it going to be okay, but it's going to be amazing if you are available to it. I'm asking you to be available to yourself, to the journey that you are on, no matter how crooked it may seem, to be available to the journey that you are called to. You're called to it because you're right there right now. The next choices and the decisions that you are making are about your awareness, your discernment, not because you're making them based on fear, but you're making them because you are called to love. You are called to joy. You are called to abundance. You are called to bliss. You are called to prosper. You are called to a life that is lived and not a life that is dormant, a life that is stagnant, a life that is so focused on what might happen as opposed to focus with what is. And so I'm inviting you to be available to what is. The next thing that I want to do is affirm my brother Skip in the purpose and the power that he is showing up in this space, in this atmosphere. And I'm calling on you to show up in support of all the work that Skip is doing. Whether you are connected to Skip through Insight Timer, whether you are focused and connected to Skip because of his social media platform, for his fitness platform, for his mind, body, and spirit connection, through the books that he does, I'm here to open your consciousness to sharing the gift that you are receiving from here, Reverend Skip. It's intentional. The living presence has brought you into this space by intention so that you can be an amplifier, a magnifier, a megaphone, so that you can expand the reach of this man of the living presence so that the things that he is sowing into your life can multiply through you and into the world. I'm here to invite you into that knowing for yourself, for that knowing for our brother, Reverend Skip, for the knowing for us all.
Literally speechless. I'm sitting here and, part of this work for me right now is to embrace that and to receive that blessing. It's easy for me to give and to be of service to others, but to receive love sometimes can be a challenge. And that is just my growth work. So my brother, Jason, I just honor you and thank you for that blessing. I receive it. I receive it. I receive it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I know you're willing to be it.
Yes, I am it. I am it. So everyone, this is where we get to follow Reverend Jason because the work he's doing is powerful. So on Instagram, it's Conscious Lens. Are you still doing photography?
I still do it on a request basis. There's some creative art that I want to do with it, so I haven't shut it down. So yes.
Can you do a headshot for a brother? I need a headshot.
Of course.
Because I go from the beard to the clean shaven. At 21, I heard.
Who are you talking to? 2 weeks ago, I had a goatee. I know what you're talking. Absolutely, you know I got you covered, brother.
I need a new headshot. I put in a little extra heaviness around this, and I want to embrace that. But that's okay.
I see you bulking up.
I'm trying. I've been bulking up in the wrong places though throughout this COVID though. I'm like, and you know what I did last night? I made some bread, brother. I made some bread. I decided that I was going to do something that I love to do, which is baking. So I haven't cooked baked bread in so long. So I made some bread with the real stuff. And I'm doing a bun cake later on tomorrow. And I'm doing these quiches. So I'm going to be working out, but I'm going to get ready. I'm going to get ready for my headshot, yo, brother.
Look, I just because of that, because I took my morning today in contemplation for stillness today instead of going out. But this afternoon, I'm going to hit these hills in Windsor Hills, give me some exercise. And I just, I hope you know that just by, like, one of my favorite things about you, one last spiritual gossip in your face about you is that your walk of health and wellness has never been preachy. Never been preachy. I've had a belly and I've had not a belly. Right? You've seen my body, right? You know what I look like, and not ever once have you ever said a word to me other than see you taking care of yourself. I see the videos. Nothing but affirmation, lifting, elevation, raising me up. And I love you so much for that. Because for me, like, we all have our things. For me, that's always allowed me to continue to remember myself because I want to be healthy. I want to live a long life. I want to bear the fruit that my ancestors have planted in me. And the way that you do what you do, it's just so clear that it just radiates and drips. Your drip is love, as the kids say. Brother. Your drip is love. So thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I was very clear about that we will inspire people not by what we say, but what we do, and also how much we love them through the process. And that's always been my process. So our daily prayer call, everyone, every day, Monday through Friday. What is it? 6:30 a.m. I get that reminder comes up. It's like, get online, Facebook, brother, Reverend Jason.
Facebook is so shady sometimes because people will get on it like, I didn't get my reminder. I'm 5 minutes late. I missed the reading. But I also do broadcast it on Instagram Live if I'm facilitating you or one of our other wonderful facilitators are facilitating. It's not on Instagram. And then there's a mailing list. If you have a prayer request and you don't even want to join us, you can email us at ourdailyprayercall@gmail.com and we will hold you in prayer. And there's a Facebook group for it as well, Our Daily Prayer Call.
I love that. That is such brilliant work. Whenever I can get on there, I'm on there. I get that reminder. And when I don't, I'm on Instagram and I see you coming through on Instagram. So as Jason just eloquently gave me a great shout out, I want to share a little bit with you guys. On January 21st, the little book for big transformations, second edition, will be available on Amazon. And it's coming out actually in a digital form and also in audible form. And I did my own voiceover, and that is something else that through the COVID bonus, I've been with our friend Gerald Rivers. He's my coach for voiceover. He's helping me with my voice and for podcasting, but he's also helping me create my reel for voiceover. So I'm tapping into a whole place I didn't think I really wanted to go into. So now
we're gonna have conversations with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and Rev Skip.
He's coming on the show very, very soon.
And also, then he has a wonderful. Did you see the promo he had with the car company?
With Honda for Honda.
Yes, absolutely. That's
Made me
so
cry.
amazing. Oh my God, it got me. I was like,
So good.
"Dag nabbit, Honda."
I love it. I love it. Gerald will be on the show. I just have to book him down because he's so busy doing what he's doing and sharing love with children and drumming. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, you can take me home for the holiday. I have a spiritual app called It's the Spiritual Life. You go to spirituallife.tv and you can see some of the past shows that I've done and the podcasts and some of my speaking engagements. And I have also Monkey Turtle on there as a featured guest in Tully for vegetarian cooking. Sign up for my weekly newsletter at skipjennings.com. You'll get all the information. And then once again, I want to pop this up there. If you don't mind, everyone, I actually will be doing an event this Friday. And this Friday, I will be doing an event called Christmas Day and Kwanzaa Meditation. And that's going to be on Insight Timer at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go to insighttimer.com. You can download the app. And remember that, you don't have to be alone for Christmas Day. And you don't have to be alone for this holiday season. We are here for you. Also, we are doing, well, Jason, what services are we doing at Agape International Spiritual Center?
So Agape is doing a Christmas Eve service at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. We're holding a meditation. And at 7 p.m., we're going to be having a service. And I just happen to be one of a couple of speakers that will be speaking on that night. There's going to be wonderful dancing, wonderful speakers, incredible music. By our practitioner and director of the Music and Arts Ministry, Mary Ann Lewis, is facilitating that. And Reverend Michael, of course, is going to bring the word as well. So it's going to be a powerful evening.
And I'm very excited because Sunday after Christmas, I'm coming to do the meditation music for all three services with my sound bowls. And I'm celebrating because I am also a sound bath practitioner. And so I get to show up in so many aspects. Rev, we show up in so many different ways.
Bruh, I got to talk to you some more about that because because we're right here. I might as well put you on the spot.
Yes.
Did you see how we did with the gongs and we had the music all the way through?
Yes.
I mean, I might ask you, see if we could do that again, because that was,
yes.
People loved it. It was powerful. It gives us the opportunity to show the variety of meditation that's available for people in the silence with the sacred tones that allows the shifting of energy and focus. And, like I had Reverend Coco recommend people put on headphones for those. And there was just such incredible feedback from that. So just a heads up.
Every Insight Timer guided meditation, which I do every Friday at 7 a.m. Normally throughout the rest of the year, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard. I start off the guided meditations with sounding and toning. And one of the things we had the privilege of having Maisha Hazard.
You beat me to it. I knew that's what you were talking about.
That, right? And it just opens up the space. It's a space where you get to let go of the human and open up your heart to understand this expansive space of energy through sound. And that's why sound is so important. So,
so last thing for me, because this conversation,
this is me going all day. We're like,
I stumbled across a video on Instagram of throat singers. And it blew my mind because it wasn't just that they were singing with that, but they were also strumming these really ancient styled guitars and a drum. And I was mesmerized, and it just blessed me. I don't know what the energy or the tone was from their perspective, but it was sacred to me and it blessed me.
It is so sacred. My brother, we can go all day, but we're at the 45 minutes. I like to honor time, but sometimes you just got to keep on going. It's just an honor and a privilege. And I just love you from the deep part of my soul. This connection, this brother connection, the support that you have given me throughout this year and throughout my 15 years of knowing you has been words cannot even express how grateful I am for you, my brother. So thank you so much. Thank you. And everyone, we always love to remind you on this show, remember transformation is a choice and you can choose today. All right. Till next time. Next week, I'm going to be here with Kimberly Spring. Kimberly Glick. She's one of the fitness gurus that I grew up with and I've known for almost 25 years. And she's a deep spiritual sister and who is taking the world by storm in this transformational world. So she'll be with us next week. So I love you guys and peace and blessings. Until next week, be well.